Alright, hello and Merry Christmas to all on this lovely holiday season. I've seen a lot of people post their picks online, so I thought I would do mine. Feel free to comment, let me know where you think I'm right, where I think I'm wrong. And I'll just give you my best educated guesses for each game. For the Gilda New Mexico Bowl, we got Wazoo versus Colorado State. I'm going to have to go with Colorado State on the upset. Wazoo hasn't been to a bowl in for a long time. I think their players are going to be a little starstruck. Meanwhile, Colorado State, they've shown some good defense this year. They actually held Alabama to like 10 points at halftime or something like that. Or maybe it was to the first quarter. They held them 0 at the first quarter. But they look good. I expect their defense to shut Washington State's passing down, and I think they'll get the win. Las Vegas Bowl, I actually see Fresno State beating USC. I don't think USC players are nearly as excited to play Fresno State as Fresno State players are to play USC. A lot of Fresno guys probably grew up USC fans or were hoping to play for USC at one point, and that's a big name for that program to play. So I fully expect David Carr to come out and just really perform well. I think they're going to beat the Trojans. The Idaho Potato Bowl, Buffalo and San Diego State. This is a toss-up for me, but I'm going with Buffalo. They've shown some sparks of being a decent team. They gave Ohio State some fits at the beginning of the year. They have a very good defense. I think they have like the 17th best defense or something like that. I know San Diego State's defense is not that great. It's really a toss-up for me, but I'm just going to go with the Buffalo Bulls. The New Orleans Bowl, Tulane versus Louisiana Lafayette. I've learned that you don't go against the Raging Cajuns, but I am going to live on the edge here and go with Tulane. It's in their home stadium, which doesn't really matter because they're both from New Orleans. Should be packed since they should both have fans inside the stadium. I don't know. I think Louisiana Lafayette is without their star quarterback. That's the main reason I'm picking Tulane with this one, but I can see this one going either way. Eastern Carolina versus Ohio in the Beef O'Brady Bowl. I think this one's going to be a blowout. Eastern Carolina seems to be a pretty good team. Ohio, they've just been a complete bust this year. I know Tyler Tettleton has not played as well as he has played in the past years. I could see him rallying a victory. However, Eastern Carolina, they've showed some good defense this year, and I really expect them to just win by at least 2.5 touchdowns. The Sheraton Hawaii Bowl, I'm finally going to pick a fellow Pac-12 school, and that's the Oregon State Beavers over the Boise State Broncos. Oregon State, they are one of the most unpredictable teams, and they almost beat my Ducks, yet they lose to teams like Eastern Washington. Honestly, this game is whoever comes out ready to play, but I honestly think with the Boise State coaching system, things are changing there. They don't have Chris Peterson anymore, and I know that Mike Riley's a good coach when it comes to bowl games usually. And Boise State has a terrible secondary, and Oregon State is going to throw the ball all over them. I expect the Beavers to win by 2 touchdowns. The Little Caesars Pizza Bowl, I'm actually going to go with Pitt over Bowling Green. I know a lot of people, the only game they watched of Bowling Green was them beating Northern Illinois, and so now everyone's picking them. However, Pitt plays a little bit of a tougher schedule. Bowling Green's offense did look impressive, however, it was against Northern Illinois, who I don't think has a very good defense at all. However, Pitt has some major defensive players, and I think one of them just won the award over an Alabama player. Can't think of his name. But I think Pitt's going to come in and kind of shut them down on defense. The big question is, can Pitt score? I don't think Bowling Green's defense is very good, and so I think Pittsburgh wins a very low-scoring game in this one. The San Diego County Credit Union Poinsettia Bowl, I have Northern Illinois over Utah State. Utah State could absolutely win this game. I could see Northern Illinois coming out flat in this one since they're not playing in a BCS game that they were hoping to play in. But I think their quarterback Jordan Lynch, this is his last game. I think he's going to go out with a bang. I see them winning by like 3 touchdowns with the route in the end of the game. The Military Bowl. A lot of people are picking Maryland in this one, but I'm picking Marshall. Maryland, at the beginning of the year, they look like they might even be good. They jumped into the top 25 before getting beat 63-0 by Florida State. I honestly don't think they're ready for this game. I think Marshall, although they play in a much weaker division, conference, I think they come out with a bang. I know Marshall is trying to get back up into an elite, lower level program, and I think they win this game by 2 touchdowns. The Texas Bowl, Syracuse and Minnesota. I'm going to go with Minnesota. They have completely improved this year. They actually won some big games. They could have won some other big games against Wisconsin, for instance. I think they come out much hungrier to win this game than Syracuse, and so I'm expecting them to win, I don't know, by 17. Let's see. The Fight Hunger Bowl, which is BYU versus Washington. I know a lot of people are picking Washington. I'm going to go with BYU. It's very hard to pick against Bronco Mendenhall and the BYU Cougars. For those of you that don't know, BYU has not lost a bowl game, I believe, since 05 or 06. And they've got a good team. I mean, sometimes they come out flat, like they'll beat Texas, and they'll go out and just lose by 40 points, I believe, in one game. Washington's going to be without their head coach, and I honestly think that BYU knows how to win bowl games, so I'm picking BYU over the Huskies. New Era Pinstripe Bowl, I got Rutgers actually losing, to Notre Dame. I'd like to go with Rutgers with the upset, but I just don't see it happening. Notre Dame seems like a much better team. The Belk Bowl, Cincinnati versus North Carolina. The game is in North Carolina, so I'm picking North Carolina. I think it's more of a home game for them. I see these teams as evenly matched, but North Carolina, they've got a pretty good defense, and I think they're the better team. The Russell Athletic Bowl, Miami versus Louisville, offense versus defense game. Gotta go with offense. I'm an Oregon fan. I think that, what's his name? Teddy Bridgewater. Last game, I think he's gonna come out fired up. It's his last college game. I see Louisville pulling up what I believe is an upset. Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, Michigan versus K-State. Not much for me to say other than I see Michigan routing Kansas State. The Armed Forces Bowl, Middle Tennessee versus Navy. I gotta go with Navy. They're a solid 8-4, 9-3 team every year, and their offense is hard to stop. I don't see Middle Tennessee being able to stop the triple option. Speaking of the triple option, we got the Music City Bowl, which is Ole Miss versus Georgia Tech. This game's in Tennessee, so this should be a packed house with fans from Georgia and Mississippi being able to make that trip. This is a toss-up. I want to go with Georgia Tech, but I have to go with Ole Miss. They have a stout defense and a pretty good offense with Bo Wallace. I just don't see Georgia Tech being able to handle it. They gave up 41 points to a Georgia team that did not have Aaron Murray, so I expect Ole Miss to win this game. Alamo Bowl, my Ducks versus the Texas Longhorns. This is a big game for us when it comes to recruiting. I mean, I could see Texas coming out fighting hard, and I could see Oregon coming out extremely flat. However, if things go the way they should, Oregon should win this by 3 touchdowns, so I'm going with the Ducks. The Holiday Bowl, Arizona State versus Texas Tech. Arizona State is another one of those teams that is extremely hard to predict how they're going to do in games, but I'm going to still stick with them. Texas Tech lost 5 straight games at the end of their season, and their first 7 wins were not impressive teams, so I'm going to go with the Arizona State Sun Devils. Advocare V100 Bowl, we got Arizona versus Boston College, and I'm going to go with the Wildcats. They are finally playing at a high level. This is going to be Danker and Kadeem Carey's last game, and I think Rich Rodriguez gets the win over a Boston College team that really isn't that good. Sun Bowl, Virginia Tech versus UCLA. Once again, I got to go with the Pac-12. UCLA, they're a great team. However, it's hard to go against Frank Beamer in a bowl game. But I'm going to go with Jim Mora. I think I think the Bruins get it done. The Liberty Bowl, Rice versus Mississippi State. I know Mississippi State's in the SEC, but I'm going to go with Rice. I think they're going to come out way more fired up than Mississippi State is. Mississippi State has played way tougher games in their regular season, and so I think they're going to kind of overlook Rice. Rice is a strong team. They're looking to come out with a bang. I think they're going to beat the SEC, even though it is only Mississippi State. The Chick-fil-A Bowl, Duke versus Texas A&M. Johnny Manziel, he's going to destroy. I'm picking A&M in a blowout. The Gator Bowl, Nebraska versus Georgia, a rematch of last year's bowl game. I'm picking Nebraska with the upset for 2 reasons. Number 1, no Aaron Murray. And number 2, this is Taylor Martinez's last game, and possibly Bo Pelini is fighting for his job. I believe Nebraska is going to come out. They're going to play stiff D, and I believe Taylor Martinez is going to lead his Nebraska Cornhuskers to a victory. The Heart of Dallas Bowl, we got UNLV versus North Texas. Once again, this is kind of a toss-up, but I'm going to go with the home team with North Texas playing in Dallas. They're going to have more fans, and I think they're a more solid team with a little bit of a tougher conference. UNLV, I'm just not really sure what to think about them. Sometimes they win big, and sometimes they lose to crappy teams. So we'll see how that one goes. The Capital One Bowl, Wisconsin versus South Carolina. I'm going with the upset, Wisconsin. South Carolina, I mean, they lose to Tennessee, and then they'll, you know, I can't remember who they've beaten. I know they've won some big games, but I just think Wisconsin's running game, I know they've lost like 4 straight bowl games. I think they finally come out with a win and a big upset. Outback Bowl, Iowa versus LSU. LSU in a rout. Sorry, Iowa, you got screwed. The Rose Bowl, this is the hardest one for me to pick. Stanford versus Michigan State. 2 tough defenses. 2 not so impressive offenses. Both coaches know how to win bowl games. Both coaches know how to win big games. I'm going to go with the Pac-12. I'm going to go with Stanford. I think that they're going to pound it. In Michigan State, I believe they're going to come over a little hungover from the Ohio State win. I think that game meant more to them than this game did, so I'm going to go with Stanford. Fiesta Bowl, Baylor versus UCF. I expect Baylor to win 50-13. Crushing. Another crushing, the Sugar Bowl, Alabama versus Oklahoma. We were hoping that Oregon was going to get in this game and finally get a game against Alabama, but it will have to wait till next year or the year after, or who knows when, but hopefully soon. I see Bama crushing 41-13. Oklahoma is nowhere near the level Alabama is. The Orange Bowl, Clemson versus Ohio State. I'm going with Clemson. I believe they come out fired up. Ohio State, they're bummed. They're not in the national championship, so I don't think they come out nearly as fired up as Clemson does. Clemson's a little bummed that they looked terrible in the one big game they had all year, and I think they redeemed themselves here, and I think the offense, I think this is an offensive game. I see Clemson winning by a touchdown in a high-scoring game. Cotton Bowl, Oklahoma State versus Missouri. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. They looked flat against Oklahoma, but it's Mike Gundy. He's a great coach, and I don't think they're going to have 2 straight bad games. Missouri's defense looked awful against Auburn. I think Chelf and the offense of Oklahoma State is going to be able to put enough points on Missouri to get this upset. Compass Bowl, I'm picking Vanderbilt over Houston. I think Vanderbilt is the better team, much better athletes. This is an SEC territory, so they're going to have more fans. I don't really know much about Houston, but I don't think they can compete with Vanderbilt. The GoDaddy Bowl, Arkansas State versus Ball State. I really don't know anything about either of these teams, so I'm going to go with Ball State. And finally, the Vizio BCS National Championship game. I am picking Florida State to beat Auburn. Auburn has won 2 games in the end that they should not have won, in my opinion, especially the Georgia game. I think their luck runs out. I think that the defense of Florida State proves to be a much tougher task than the defense of Missouri was. I think that the Heisman, Jameis Winston, comes out clean. I think he's going to get the win over this Auburn team, 34-31.